Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Schulz. Today we have our final North American folktale of the week, and this one comes from old Indian legends, and it's a Native American tale. It's one that really reminds me of what could be a Don Bluth short, an animated short. For those who don't know, Don Bluth was an amazingly legendary animator who created a number of classics and had a very distinctive style to his animation in the 70s and 80s. This is Dance in a Buffalo Skull. It was night upon the prairie. Overhead, the stars were twinkling bright their red and yellow lights. The moon was young. A silvery thread among the stars, it soon drifted low beneath the horizon. Upon the ground, the land was pitchy black. There are night people on the plain who love the dark. Amid the black level land they meet to frolic under the stars. Then, when their sharp ears hear any strange footfalls, they scamper away into the deep shadows of night. There, they are safely hid from all dangers, they think. Thus it was that one very black night, afar off from the edge of the level land, out of the wooded river bottom, gilded forth two balls of fire. They came farther and farther into the level land. They grew larger and brighter. The dark hid the body of the creature with those fiery eyes. They came on, just over the tops of the prairie grass. It might have been a wildcat, prowling low on soft, stealthy feet. Slowly, but surely, the terrible eyes drew nearer and nearer to the heart of the level land. There, in a huge old buffalo skull, was a gay feast and dance. Tiny little field mice were singing and dancing in a circle to the boom, boom of a wee, wee drum. They were laughing and talking among themselves, while their chosen singers sang loud a merry tune. They built a small open fire within the center of their queer dance-house. The light streamed out of the buffalo skull through all the curious sockets and holes. A light on the plain in the middle of the night was an unusual thing. But so merry were the mice, they did not hear the king of sleepy birds disturbed by the unaccustomed fire. A pack of wolves, fearing to come nigh this night fire, stood together a little distance away, and turning their pointed nose to the stars, howled and yelped most dismally. Even the cry of the wolves was unheeded by the mice within the lighted buffalo skull. They were feasting and dancing, they were singing and laughing, those funny furry fellows. All the while, across the dark from the low river bottom, came that pair of fiery eyes. Now, closer and more swift, now fiercer and glaring, the eyes moved toward the buffalo skull. All unconscious of those fearful eyes, the happy mice nibbled at dried roots and venison. The singers started another song. The drummers beat the time, turning their heads from side to side in rhythm. In a ring around the fire hopped the mice, each bouncing hard on his two hind feet. Some carried their tails over their arms, while others trailed them proudly along. Ah, very near are those round yellow eyes. Very low to the ground they seem to creep toward the buffalo skull. All of a sudden, they slide into the eye sockets of the old skull. "Spirit of the buffalo!" squeaked a frightened mouse as he jumped out from a hole in the back part of the skull. "A cat! A cat!" cried other mice as they scrambled out of holes both large and snug. Noiseless, they ran away into the dark. and that is Dance in a Buffalo Skull from Old Indian Legends. And for those of you who have seen An American Tale or The Secret of Nim or The Land Before Time, I challenge you to listen to this story and not picture it in that animation style that we all know and love of Don Bluth. This is Dan Scholes for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere that you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Next week, we're heading off to the Middle East for 3 more amazing stories. And as always, thank you so much for listening.